Kalani, thanks very much indeed. Well, let's take you live to our big story this afternoon, that breakthrough between Eskom and the unions as they signed a wage deal. Will this mean the beginning of the end of the intense load shedding? Our reporter Ahmed Kajee is there. Ahmed, good afternoon. What's the latest?
Yes, Stephen, addresses coming out of the various unions involved in these negotiations at the strike at Eskom, which we have seen over the last week. And the result of that was a stage 6 load shedding from last week, Tuesday. All the unions coming out, as well as Eskom, saying that they welcome the agreement of the 7% offer, which was tabled by Eskom. This will also see a 400 Rand increase to the housing allowance, which will now bring that amount up to 3,600 Rand. More details will be coming along throughout the rest of this afternoon, heading into the evening with the specific details of this particular agreement as well. But like we say, the big announcement coming over here is that solidarity, the NUM as well as NUMSA coming through and accepting that agreement that was offered by Eskom with regards to that 7% wage offer. But I think the best thing to do right now is to also bring into the conversation Elsie Pule. She is the group head of HR at Eskom. Elsie, thanks very much for your time today. How much of a breakthrough is this for Eskom, and to ensure that, perhaps in some way or form, load shedding could end in the country?
This is a major breakthrough for us. You might have seen in the last few weeks we had unlawful protest actions from our employees that impacted on our operations. Coming to a settlement today will really give us a lot of a big relief in terms of the challenges we've been facing.
How many workers were on strike, and when are they expected to return?
So it was predominantly in our generation business and mainly in the 4 stations. We have not consolidated our numbers. We'll be doing that later today, but it has been in the thousands.
In terms of the labor process and these negotiations, they have taken a week. What was the main issues that was at the forefront of these negotiations and coming to this compromise of 7%?
So the main issues were mainly around across the board increase. What we had presented initially as an organization, we wanted to also address the issue of income differentials. So we were offering a differentiated increase to employees, giving the ones who are at the lower end more than the ones who are at the higher end. We then had to compromise as an organization in the interest of creating harmony in the workplace. The other issues were around the conditions of service that we had varied in the previous year, mainly to put in more controls and also manage our costs of the variable aspect of pay.
I mean, earlier on you spoke about the cost that this will have on Eskom. This 7% increase, the 400 Rand addition onto the housing subsidy, how much is this going to take out of the coffers of Eskom?
So this sets us a bit back. Roughly it's going to be in excess of R1 billion in terms of our wage bill, on top of our current wage bill. That will be your 7% increase and the 400 Rands housing allowance.
Do you have any idea on where these monies are going to be funded?
Currently not. We're working with, as a team, as EXCO, to also find a way of funding this increase.
And then also speaking towards some of the points which came out from the unions, they say that, for the next bargaining agreements or negotiations, which will be coming up later on in the year, perhaps early next year as well. What are you expecting those conversations to be like with them? Also calling on for Eskom to be a bit more open-minded when it comes through to these negotiations.
We currently have what we call a recognition agreement, which was signed with all the parties in 2000. And as parties, we all agree that it's a bit dated, and because that's the one that stipulates how we negotiate. So in terms of that recognition agreement, we've got 3 rounds of negotiations, which we have done. The chairperson of the collective bargaining forum had requested that we have an additional one, which ended on Friday. So we haven't walked away from the negotiations. Basically, that recognition agreement prescribes that you have 3 rounds, and if you are far from each other by the 3rd round, any party reserves the right to either take it on for dispute or have other bilateral engagements, which we did in the last week.
Elsipule, thanks very much for your time today. It's greatly appreciated. That's Elsipule Stephen, the group head of HR for the Eskom group, just giving us an update on what those specific negotiations were like over the last week with the specific unions who were demanding that 12% from NUMSA, 10% from NUM, and a 5.9% increase from Solidarity. With regards to what this exactly means for load shedding, we are expecting an announcement and a statement coming through from Sikonathi Mantshantsha in the next few moments. We will hopefully speak to him, and a statement will be coming out from Eskom as to what the future of the rest of the week and what load shedding schedules will be like heading in through for the rest of today and for the rest of the week. We had seen stage 6. We're also currently heading in through to stage 5 and perhaps stage 4 as the schedules from Eskom have been announced. But in terms of what this exactly means, specifically towards stage 6, which Eskom says this particular illegal strike is attributed to, we will still wait and see what announcements come from the power utility as to what South Africans can expect next. Stephen.
Ahmed Kajee, thanks very much indeed. Do appreciate it. All right, that's the latest from Eskom. More, of course, on the Eskom situation in the Pulse as we go through the afternoon. And I'm afraid stage 5 load shedding, I understand. Sometimes you need to check these things. Is in effect at the moment.